How you doing, Sus?
Good. Episode 462. How are you?
Oh, look who rhymed!
At long last.
Oh, how the tables have turned. Everybody's going to write and say, that was my favorite moment ever of the whole podcast because Susie did it.
No, that's your favorite moment.
Yes, it totally is.
Victory.
Oh, my goodness. Well, so how's my Susie today?
Real good.
Really?
Yeah, real good.
That's good. What's your secret?
I mean, you don't want to know because I kind of been like judgy about people lately.
Oh, yeah?
I'm getting annoyed with people who are not suffering in a way that like I deem true suffering. Like if you like lose your job or if you're in the, if you're diagnosed with something like that's true suffering.
Yeah.
But like I just hear a lot of white people whining all the time.
Yeah,
because
we
basically
are good at that. We are very good at that.
We are
professionals,
that's our
if you will. Yes,
like this year sucks so bad.
It does,
and there's no denying that. But like I feel like people really had it good for a really long time, and they're like, "Hey, wait a minute."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Yeah, hello. This is what most of the world has, and far worse." So I'm like super judgy about it, being like, okay, like let's suck it up, let's pull ourselves. Every so often I notice that I have like my conservative tendencies, emerge.
I don't know, but I will say I don't know if those are conservative tendencies because I think what you're talking about is resiliency.
Yeah.
That you have resiliency, and it's not a conservative thing. It's because you have had to be resilient.
Yeah, but they would claim that it is. Like, that's their whole mantra is, like, personal responsibility and, like, hey, life's tough. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like, that's kind of their worldview, at least in theory. I don't see it in real life so much. But, every so often I'll be like, ooh, that's, like, from my upbringing, I think.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, but I don't see it as, I see it as, like, you
grit.
Have, yes, grit. Yeah. That is totally the word for it. I see it as you have something that a lot of people, it takes a long time to get.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, on the last episode, I was like, you know what? I'm really starting to have more empathy and compassion for people.
And now you're like, I'm
that was short-lived.
Yeah. I was having a conversation. This is going to be like me, like, divulging, like, my own therapy on here with my mom.
Okay.
I was talking to my mom, and I was telling her, like, Mom, I'm, like, having, I have a tough time more, like, finding the motivation to come up with a list of new things to do to, like, new coping strategies because, like, the go-to methods aren't available. It's like, I have to, like, change how I work out or change how I do this. And my mom told me, she was like, Sarah, I hate to break it to you, but you haven't had to struggle or had to think about, like, have to really worry about, not worry, but, like, if I wanted to learn how to do something, I did it. It was like if I wanted to, if I study for the test, get the good grade. Everything was like it didn't come easy, but it kind of did. And I kind of, and this is like a time in my life where I have to learn how to struggle a little bit. Yeah. How to, like, come up. I have to build some grit. Like I have grit in maybe some categories, but not in others. And
I was actually thinking of you because you're like my only friend. So I was thinking about how, because I was thinking about how I'm very competitive. And so I use that as a way to, like, keep myself motivated. So, like, and then I thought, Sarah's super competitive too. Like, she should try this technique because I'll tell you what, it really works for me. Because I want to read the most books, and I want to, whatever it is. And so, I don't know.
Yes, Suze, 100%. And that's what I was kind of talking about with my mom. Like, this sounds so silly, but there's no way to, like, mark, like, improvement, or it's hard to, like, measure. You know, before I was that's why I loved grad school or loved school forever. It's like, do the work, get the good grade. Here you go. And it's like proof of. And so you have to just start thinking of worth in a new way.
That's what I'm saying.
And that takes some, like, learning how to do, and maybe getting outside of your comfort zone, or learning things that, like, it doesn't necessarily come easy. And, so I think people learn things at different times or get those lessons. And for some people, like, my little brother, nothing came easy to him. And it was a struggle. And now he's like, this ain't no thing. He's thriving.
Right.
He's like, yeah, this is great. I got it. I got this handled. No problem.
But I mean, I'm inconsistent though, because like you and I were texting the other day about a white male cast member who was like, giving advice about positive thinking and like, just try your best kind of speech.
Yeah.
And we were like, that's easy for a white man with every resource available to him to say. Like, all you have to do is try real hard. When that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So there are limits to the grit, what grit can do if you don't have the resources also.
Yeah. And first you have to like develop, like build the road and then drive down, like develop that grit or that, option.
Yeah.
Or,
how do you do that? Well, I'll have to look that up. I'll have to think about that later.
You just have to like handle it, and know that you can and survive. And you have to go through it. It's like, oh my God, I was like just having this conversation with my mom the other day. She was talking to me about how it's okay to be in a struggle and think about like every phase of life that where something new emerges, there is a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
A birth or a butterfly coming out, a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Or like it's not like poof, it's like a struggle.
Yeah.
And so it looks sometimes messy.
And
so we just don't like
that we even have to have grit right now. Like a lot of this was unnecessary and it's poor leadership and all these things that come together. But it is what it is. So
it is what it is.
Let's go, people. I'm like a drill sergeant.
Yeah. You're like, shake it off. Let's go. Start utilizing these new. Well, and then you know what you're so good at, Susie, is you're really good at getting back to basics. And I think that's what makes people thrive in times like this is returning to basics, returning to like, what is good for me? What's good? I need a routine. I need family. I need closeness. Like you're good at the things that are like, everybody else often does the stuff around it. Like
what?
Like, it's like busy work. Like maybe if I work more, maybe if I, I'm sure you do that too, but maybe if I like, I'm trying to think of, we have to like simplify. Like, are you getting a good night's sleep?
Not smarter.
Yes, for sure. Like you're good at recognizing like I need the, where the boundaries are, I think.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and taking time to turn inward and for self-care and to take, a bath and
I guess I'm not saying all this to say that I blame people for like being down in the dumps. I'm saying like you don't have to be.
Right. There's another option.
I want them to be happy and get back on track and all of that. And I just want to sometimes you want to shake people and be like, come on, you can do it.
Yeah. And it is, I think, sometimes like during these times hard to maybe admit that you need help doing it. And people are like in that place of, no, I can handle it. No, I can do it.
Well, and don't you notice, though, that everyone's in crisis? And so, like, there's no one to lean on.
Right. It's very hard. So we have to, like, lean on... Like I'm always like outsource it, like this is why therapists are so fantastic. This is why talking to family. I notice that sometimes I'm like sometimes I'll just get in my own way. I'll be like, when I was talking to my mom, I was like, I resisted like answering your call for like a week because I knew you had what I needed to hear, but I like wasn't ready to like not be like, I wasn't ready to do the work yet.
Yeah, that's a mom move, yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm ready. Okay, here I go. Now I can talk to my mom.
They always know.
They do know. She's so good. And she told me, and I was like, okay, here we go. And, now back on track. It's like, and I was like, I just got to use my resources. Sometimes I'm like, no, I just want to be pouty.
Yeah, I mean, we all do that.
And then we're like, no, I don't like doing that. That doesn't.
Yeah,
serve
sometimes.
me.
Why is that? Why is it so fun to be fussy sometimes?
Oh man,
we're like little babies.
We are like little babies.
At our core.
Yeah, right. And then we have to realize that we kind of have to develop that grit, and that the person that we can rely on the most to like be there for us at any given time is ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think we're whiny and fussy when we feel like we can't be there for ourselves.
Yeah.
But then when we're like whiny and fussy, we're like crying to ourselves to come rescue us. And then when we actually listen to the call and we're like, oh, okay, I'll help you, then we stop whining.
And I mean, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but another thing that might help a little on a down day is some boozy bites.
Oh, hell yeah. Insider tip. I think I said this last time. If I haven't, maybe I just told Suze.
You just told me.
Put those suckers in the freezer.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's like a treat and a half.
What happens to them in the freezer? I got to do this.
They taste like a delicious, like, popsicle. But
yeah. I'm into it.
But you can bite into it, and it's perfect. I love it. And it's come on.
It's boozy and it's a bite. What more do you want? They're these cute little like wine glass shaped cups that have basically, like gelatin shots for adults. And they're so festive. Sarah took them to a brunch that she had, a socially distanced brunch. And the people went wild for them.
Yeah.
And because they're just fun, and that's what we're all needing right now is like, let's just loosen up. And
it was great when the guys there, I was like, oh my God, I need to get you guys on tape saying this. They were like, oh, this is even more fun than I thought it was going to be. And I was like, I told you, don't trust your girl. I got you.
Yes. And it's a female-owned company. They're organic. We love these boozy bites, and we know you will too. Right now, they're offering 15% off plus free shipping for our listeners. So to order your own box or to send some of the boozy treats to a friend, head to boozybites.com and enter promo code BRAINCANDY at checkout for 15% off your order. That's boozybites.com, promo code BRAINCANDY. You got to be 21. You can look for a list of all the states they ship to on their website, boozybites.com as well.
Yummy.
Yeah, I do think that's important, and we talked about that last week. Like, you got to make fun, because sometimes it's not going to come to you. You got to, like, create it.
You have to.
Yeah.
And there are strategies. I think sometimes we, like, overthink things. We complicate it, and we think, I don't know, we think that you have to, like, go to Disneyland to have a good day, or it has to be, like, Christmas to have fun. But like you said, this is why getting back to basics. Like, one of the things that am going to share with you is a really cool study that they did in Britain. Of course, they did it there because they love gardening. That said, where they found that planting a handful of seeds in a bare yard could reduce stress levels as much as 8 mindfulness sessions.
Say that again.
So this was
What's a bare yard? You mean
a bare yard? Like if you went from having no plants to oh my God, I've got to sneeze.
Let it out.
Right, I'm trying so hard.
Look at the light. Look at the light.
I'm trying to do that. Oh gosh, it's like right there, but like there's like a very small window in this office.
Think about
it's just gonna live there. Oh my gosh, it's right there. Oh, here, this is gonna be fun because it's just like hanging out. We'll see if I could like pay attention to like what I'm supposed to be talking about as we do this. Or the sneeze. Now it's kind of gone away. This is good. Okay.
Sarah, you're killing me, Smalls. You got to let it out. Okay, go ahead.
I can't control it. If I could, it'd already be gone.
I just hate that
maybe I need to like, where's some pepper? I need to like force it.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Isn't it weird? No, I won't even say that on the air. That's a weird thing to say. Now I have to say it.
You do.
Sometimes a sneeze feels like a build-up to other bodily reactions.
Oh, yes.
And now it goes away. It's like, right.
Every woman knows that you sneeze blue balls.
Yes, exactly. That's it. That's the thing. That would have been a much lovelier way to say it. Okay, good job, Sue. See, we got to work on our material before go on air. Didn't know. Who knew I was going to happen? Who knew I was going to have a sneeze? Okay, back to plants and how they make you happy.
Yeah.
So, this was a 4-year scientific research project that was done at the University of Sheffield, and they were looking at what happened on the effects of cortisol levels from like just looking at plants. And
That's so cute. I love it.
So they looked at they used 42 different residents that had like no plants in their backyard. They like went from having no plants to having plants. And I love it that they listed the plants because I feel like that matters.
Yeah,
so
it does.
One tree, so a juniper or a snowy mesopelus, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
One shrub, one climber, so like ivy or something like that. One sub-shrub, like lavender or rosemary. Didn't even know that was a word, but I like that.
Sub-shrub.
A sub-shrub, which sounds like an insult or something adorable.
Right.
I like that.
It's like the Rick Moranis of plants. Go ahead, sorry.
That's totally funny and so accurate. You know what you are so good at, by the way, I have noticed? You are that's like your superhero power too.
That's what Adam says.
You are so good, like oh my gosh, like anybody in politics, that's
right.
This version of he is the human whatever.
That's my favorite kind of tweet.
They're so
right.
good.
Thank
You're
you.
so good at that. So I just want to say a tip of the hat to
thank you so
to you
much.
for that, because I noticed that the other day as I was on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, she's so good.
Thank you.
There you go. Again, back to plants. So
okay, good.
They also planted some bulbs, like daffodils and crocuses, some bedding plants, petunias and violas, or violas. Which one is that? Viola?
I mean,
don't
that's
know.
an instrument. Are we talking about violets?
Viola. Maybe petunia and viola is like the plural of violet.
Oh.
Look what we just discovered there.
Okay.
Like a bed of violets is viol. I don't know. That's a stretch.
I'm looking this up. Go. You can keep talking
Okay.
though. That is so interesting.
So they filled 2 containers with those plants. I would imagine big containers in their backyard. And then they used a control group who received the plants 1 year later. And they measured it. And before the experiment, this is the sad part, that before the experiment, only 24% of those residents had healthy cortisol patterns. And so they measured their cortisol over the course of the year. And this was pre-COVID, the study also mentions.
I bet those plants wouldn't help anymore.
Right? Like, forget
Fuck
it. No, again, back to basics. Okay, so over the course of the year, following the plantings, the people who had healthy cortisol levels went from 24% to 53% of the residents.
Wow, that's so good.
That's a big improvement.
And it's such a quick and easy fix.
Yeah, just a handful. It didn't take that many, and I don't think it matters what kind. I don't think it was just cute that they put that in there. And the other things is that perceived stress amongst the whole group decreased 6% after their own how they reflected on their own levels of stress. So they even thought that they were less stressed, which really helps. And that over a longer period of time would for sure make your stress levels go down.
Wow.
And then over half the residents said their front yard helped them make them feel happier. And 40% said it helped them be more relaxed. And over 1 in 4 said it helped them be closer to nature.
I love it.
I know.
I think I've told this story before, but there was this one episode of Oprah where she was in, like Africa, where they were living in poverty, and this family was in basically a hut, like a dirt floor little hut, and they had one pole in the middle. And I just remember that the woman that lived there had tied this ribbon around the pole. It was super small, but Oprah was saying how even people who have so little still value and need beauty in their life, even if it's as small as just a little ribbon on a bar or a pole in your house. It matters and it can be helpful. And I feel like that's what this study demonstrates, that it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't have to be elaborate or even picturesque where it can go on Instagram or something. Just anything helps.
It really does. And I think it's so important to have that connection to nature. I think we just are losing that. And I mean, I notice it from living in Los Angeles.
For sure.
I had never lived in a city and for this length of time. I'm trying to think, even when I lived in New York for the show, we were there for 4 months or so, but we were right on the water. So it didn't feel
and
like...
that makes a big difference.
Huge. I woke up every morning to the sound of like splashing waves. Come on. That doesn't count as living
Come
in
on.
Forget it. And even there, I still remember calling my friend Amanda and saying to her, like, I feel like I cannot take a deep breath here. And she was like, oh, yeah, that's because you're not in nature and because you're from California and you are in the middle of a big city.
Beach.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah.
And being in a place where I've been cut off from nature and had to really search it out, I really feel it's kind of like when you know how we like look at people who have the brain disorders to like understand how working brains work.
Yes.
It's like me being cut off from nature made me be like, holy shit, I need some nature. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Ain't that the truth?
Yep, Joni Mitchell never lies.
Oh, my gosh. I love that you said that. Well done.
I always say that. It's so stupid.
Joni Mitchell never lies. But that's like, good job. Good play, Susie. That's the remix.
This will definitely improve your life, which is keeping yourself hydrated. And that is why we love Liquid IV. I can't emphasize enough how much our family loves it. This is not just me saying that. They are so helpful in keeping it's like what Sarah said, the back to basics thing. Yes. Just hydrating is a basic thing.
Absolutely. And like plants.
Amen. And so Liquid IV has these little pouches, all different flavors that are really yummy, and you pour it into your water. It helps you stay hydrated, and now they have the hydration multiplier plus immune support, which we all need. We want to stay healthy, and it has vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, Wellmune, and convenient little serving packets. And you can put them in your purse, you can keep them in the car, or just keep them around the house so that you can give them to your kids. I just love them. Adam's new favorite flavor, like I said, is tangerine. And I like the acai berry. I always forget how to say that. And Liquid IV's new Hydration Multiplier Plus Immune Support is available at Walmart. Or you could order online and you'll get 25% off because if you go to liquidiv.com and use our code CANDY, that's what you get at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you use promo code CANDY at liquidiv.com. Get better hydration today at liquidiv.com, promo code CANDY.
Yes. Okay, dokie. Okay, so plants make you happier, and that's wonderful. But I had an experience that I should have told you this right off the bat because it is, I have to complain to somebody about it, and I can't complain to Ren about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I had an experience at the dog park. Oh my gosh. I was like, I cannot wait to talk to Susie about this.
With a human or a dog?
Both.
Okay.
I almost text you. I don't want to like
oversell. Oh my God.
But I almost texted you, but I was like, no, save it. So I've been saving this one for a week. So I go to the dog park with Bo. And we are hanging out in there, and there's this other woman in there, and she's like about my age, and she's there with a little dog, and we're like hanging out, talking, and, you know, masks on, of course, because I have to say that. And then there's this, so we're inside the dog park. Then there's this guy who comes up, who's probably like maybe late 20s, and he comes up with his dog, and he's outside the dog park. And he's got like some big fancy, he's got a standard poodle, big black standard poodle, like a real fancy looking dog. I don't know why it matters, but it does. And if you have a standard poodle, like, don't write me. My aunt had a standard poodle. They're fine. They're lovely dogs.
Them.
But yes, but they're like smart dogs. They're dogs that like require a lot of training too because they are really smart. Mm-hmm. This guy, so I need to like paint you a picture of like, you know, what kind of like this guy. I just paint the whole scene. So this guy comes up to the park and the dog, he like walks the dog in, doesn't come into the dog park, but stays outside. And he's probably like 20 feet away, 30 feet away from us. So the dog goes to the bathroom. And then this guy proceeds to just walk away.
Come on.
And so don't you know, your girl was in a mood that day.
No.
And I was like, hey, buddy.
Oh, my God.
And I really said, hey, buddy.
I was just going to say.
I knew you were going to ask that. So I absolutely said that. You going to pick up after your dog over there? Just like that.
Oh, no.
And he was like, And he starts looking around. I go, they got bags right over there.
No.
Or right over here. Point to both sides of the park. Woman inside the dog park goes, I'm so glad you said that.
Oh, good. Okay.
And she goes, he has definitely been here before, and he knows where those bags are. And I'm like, ooh, yes, an ally. I love it. So then, like, I'm, like, fired up now. And then we're, like, talking about, like, he can't hear us, but we're talking about how frustrating that is that people don't do that and how ridiculous it is that, like, they're providing bags. Like, how lazy are you? Like, also, this is, like, everybody's space, and people don't do it in the dog park because they feel like because it's managed or maintained by the complex, but, like, not by the minute, you know, and so they just don't pick up after their dog's in there. And then I'm, like, running around Bo in there, and thank God I've never stepped on one of these landmines. So back to this guy, right? So back to this guy. So he picks it up. Then
okay, wait, did he say anything or he just nod or what?
He was like, oh yeah,
okay.
and he was like, and then he was like, where are the bags? And then I was like, pointing there and there. Like to one side of you can freaking see them. It's like all it takes is, and the fact that you've been here and you don't know means you're definitely one of the culprits.
Yeah, repeat offender.
Repeat offender for sure, which is what she was like agreeing with me on. Then the trash can this one, I couldn't even believe it. I was like, this is my favorite part. So the trash can that was right in front of him, his dog went to then he comes back. He's got the bag in his hand. He is looking for like at least 2 minutes for his dog's poop that he can't remember where it is. So I'm like, but right over there by the trash can.
Oh God.
Now the trash can that the dog took a shit next to is in the middle of being like, they must be like fixing it or something like that. So there's no lining in it and it's taken apart. It's definitely a do not use me situation. Now, okay. You can see where I'm going with this story.
Yes.
Now, he just got a trash bag. Just got a poop bag from the station that has a poop bag and a trash can.
Yep.
He sees that there are 2 of those on each side. He recognizes that this is a trash can that's not functioning.
Yeah.
And he looks up and he goes, should I throw it in this one? And
he did not.
Susie, hand to God, the woman, I was like, this is the part I was like, I have to share this on the podcast. I can't believe this. The woman next to me goes, oh, he did not just ask you how to use a trash can. And I was like, oh, yes, he did. And I was like, you could probably, that one doesn't have a liner in it, so you can probably use it in the one that's right underneath where the bags came from.
This is so weird because it's like the opposite of mansplaining.
I couldn't believe
like he's learned helplessness or something.
But you know what? Then she and I were both like, well, at least it's all men. Like, at least they're like, you know, because we've all been there in that situation. We're like, no, you put the liner in the trash can. What in the world makes you, like, come on. Like, where were we on this one? Or whatever. We've all been there in some scenario. And so it's always, like, part of me was like, oh, no. And the other part of me was like, well, I guess that's it. This is it.
Wow.
Huh? But I couldn't believe that I was asked how to use a trash can.
He needed instructions.
Instructions. And then I was like, ooh, he respects me or fears me. Either way, nice. I love it. I was on a power trip after that. And then she and I were just like, that was fun to watch. Can you believe what just happened there?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And then did he come in and did you have any kind of interaction?
No. And then he would we were just like, thank you. And, you know, I did say it with less attitude. Maybe not the first part. The first part I gave you was an accurate...
smug.
Accurate, reenactment.
Yeah, which was fair.
Fair, because you just left your dog's harsh but fair. You left your dog's shit. In fact, it was fair and not harsh because if I were somebody who could write a ticket, I'd fine you for that. So I let you off with a warning. If I think
we're all better for the fact that you aren't able to do that.
What if citizens arrest? Citizens arrest? No, I would not be that lady.
Citizens arrest.
I would not be that lady. I cannot be that lady.
Because you know how like the BTK serial killer was one of those guys that would measure people's lawns and give them tickets if their grass was too...
So what are you trying to say? Serial killer?
I'm saying, you know how those people are that like take their ticketing too seriously?
Yes,
It's good that we aren't giving you that opportunity.
Well, yes, it is very good. I'm also not murdering people, so you
True.
could rest assured.
Allegedly.
But I will say that it was on a day where I was just
wanted to murder someone.
Yes. I was not utilizing my outlets as I should in a healthy way. So I was like,
okay. I'm glad he got the brunt of it.
He did. And then I felt better, and I was like, And then I worked out, and then I felt all better. Yes. But can you freaking believe that one? I couldn't even. But it did bring me a little bit of joy.
Didn't he know that you could see him?
That's the part where the breakdown,
because you would think that would be more common if they think that no one's watching.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine what he's like when nobody's around, or what.
That's the thing.
Where's the account? I just don't understand that. What about, I don't know, different
he has no
levels
civic duty.
Yeah.
I forget the name of that. There's a name for that problem when it's a shared space and nobody wants to be the person that takes care of it. I mean, it's not unlike when we were in the challenge house and we would be asked to clean.
My God.
And it would feel like, okay, but why am I the only cleaner?
Right.
When there's 30 people making the mess. And now I can't remember. In political theory, there's a name for it. Because we have this problem as a society if we have a shared space or a shared problem.
Like collective...
Something.
Like
there's not in my backyard.
Collective
NIMBY.
indifference. Collective something.
I'll use that. That sounds nice.
Sounds good.
Well, another thing that sounds good, though, is being fertile and knowing what's going on in your body.
Yes, I got my results back. It
Tell
was
me.
so empowering. I was so happy to know. And they give you a full report. That is and talk about peace of mind. That told me, what a plan, put together a plan for, and we're talking about modern fertility.
Yes, we are.
By the way.
We are.
Before I dive into this. Susie, you give them the deets before I just run off on my own story.
No, it's great. Modern Fertility is a company that you can buy a test and take it at home for a fraction of the cost that you would pay at a doctor's office, and you get all this information about how many eggs you have, what your hormone levels are, any reproductive red flags you have, like polycystic ovarian syndrome, etc. And it, like Sarah said, it is so empowering because a lot of times this remains a mystery because, among other things, it can be cost prohibitive to find out what's going on in your body. And so that's why we love Modern Fertility. Tell us about your experience, Sarah.
Okay, so you know how we were talking about how our periods have been all out of sync and out of whack?
Yes.
Okay, so I learned so much. There is a hormone that is responsible for the timing of your ovulation. And a lot of the things that control that hormone are things like stress and whether you're exercising or not, or what good night's sleep that you're getting. So I learned that hormone level was a little, I can't remember, a little low,
wonky.
I think. Wonky, a little off, barely, just a little bit, but gave me an explanation of why my period was a little bit off. And because the hormone that controls it is off. And so to help, I've been regulating and tracking my period. It made me more aware of those changes. I'm like, if I don't want that weird random period, how about I start working out and sleeping better or changing my diet a little bit? And it motivated me to make the changes because that are in line with the goals that I want of having a baby in 1 to 5 years, which is what I clicked and they give me the information on.
1 to 5 years. Right. I totally agree.
Option, and they help you plan for whatever you need. You should go get a follow-up with your doctor, in a year that tests this. If you're looking to get pregnant, you should follow these kind of things.
That's so great.
And I was like, oh my God, that was so easy and it was so fast.
And right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off the test when you go to modernfertility.com/braincandy. That means your test will cost $139 instead of the hundreds or thousands it could cost at the doctor's office. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/braincandy, modernfertility.com/braincandy. I'm so glad you got results, Sarah. You must give you peace of mind for sure.
Oh, it really did. And I was like, oh, okay, I got some eggs in there. They're good. We're good.
You're good.
I'm good. Oh, you know what else is good? The fact that they're bringing back The Price is Right.
Wait, where did it go?
Yes. Well, it's been, you can't come back because it went away for COVID.
Okay. I didn't know if you meant it was canceled and I didn't know about it. I see. Okay, tell me.
Yeah, so The Price is Right is returning to production, and they redesigned the set with no audience.
Get
good
out!
News, all 77 games are still played.
Okay, so like they're going to audition people for it now?
Yeah.
Oh my God. We need to go on.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that as an option. You know, my friend Megan went on there and won a car.
Yes.
Shout out to Megan. Yes. And like $32,000.
Ba-dum-ba, ba-da-ba.
And we need to like check out what kind of microphone it's using, because you know how like we've been like very judgy of microphones, and we were talking about microphones from the 70s and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah, we totally. So it's definitely coming back.
When
and I'm
is
all
that?
about
Like
that.
in the next few weeks or?
And yes, it should be
so
back
great.
in the next few weeks.
And so they will have contestants that are in the studio, but there just won't be an audience.
And each contestant on Bitters Row are 6 feet apart. And they pulled all the
Bitters
audience
Row.
chairs. Yep, right? Bitters Row. Is that funny?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. I just love it. I feel like we could be really good at that game. And I feel like you'd be really good at guessing prices.
Maybe. I mean, I'd like to think so, Sarah. And you would be chosen because of your enthusiasm.
100%. Susie, I have a, like, I don't know if it's the enthusiasm or that I'm just like,
Well,
yeah,
you are
it's probably the
competitive,
enthusiasm.
too.
What, it's the competitive thing. But if I go to any, I'm always the audience member that gets chosen for participation. I cannot tell you how many times this has happened. I got pulled up on that Broadway show, Spelling Bee. I got pulled up for that.
It was interactive?
Yes. It was a live spelling bee, and they pulled up members of the audience. And, I mean, I don't want to brag,
Well, they
but
picked the right girl.
They totally did, but then they picked the wrong girl, because how they get contestants out is they give you harder and harder spelling words. And I kept winning.
What'd you go out on?
I can't remember, but they were like, they looked at each other like, and they were like, another round. And like, because they're like, shit, she got it right. So that was funny. Then when I was little, I was at SeaWorld. I got pulled up on stage to do that thing with the seal where they like give you kisses. And the seal did. Any audience participation thing, I got pulled up on a magic show to get hypnotized.
Oh my God, you're perfect for that.
I'm of course. I don't know what it's the enthusiasm thing. So if I went to Price is Right, definitely getting pulled up on stage.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Remember when we were in Brazil, Susie? What happened with the guy on stage in Brazil and the taxi cab?
Yes, I do.
It's almost like I forgot about that story. Oh, I feel embarrassed telling that
Okay, I'll tell.
Okay,
so we were in I think we were in Rio, and we went to see.
I can't believe this happened. This shows you that all women have the power. You have to just know how to harness it and use it.
Well, it tells me that you have the power. I mean, what was the name of that show? Was it just Samba or something? There was
it was like
famous
name.
And they're dancing, and it's beautiful costumes and shenanigans. And Sarah and I are like totally being silly,
But
but
it was a 2-drink minimum, and their drinks are strong.
And one of the dancers really caught your eye, but the feeling was mutual.
Yes. And I was like, I'm going to give him the eyes.
Could not take his eyes off Sarah. And by the time we left the show, they had made sweet love with their eyes so intensely that he followed us out into the street, followed us to... This now sounds creepy that I'm repeating it.
I know. Now I'm like, that's kind of terrifying. And also, like, he's predatorial. Does he do this? He definitely does this at every show. This is like... And this happened exactly... Oh, my God. This happened exactly like he planned. This is
I truly never thought it was disturbing until just now. But anyway...
Me either.
Sarah gets in the cab, rolls down the window, and then that guy just... puts his head in the window and plants one right on her.
I know.
Was there a tongue?
No, I don't think so. I think just passionate smooch.
That's so great. At the time, we loved it.
Oh, loved it. And here's the thing. It wasn't like I was like, ooh, I'm getting that one. And Susie is the best wing woman ever on the planet. Because she'll be like, because I'm like, no, Susie, I can't do that. That's not.
Like,
I'm
just
not
do
gonna
it.
do that.
It's fine.
And she's like, no, Sarah, you can get anybody. And I'm like, no,
I
I can't.
believe that.
I'm telling you, I am not a woman with confidence when it comes to date. Susie is the only person I have done this around. Ren, the love of my life, man I'm with right now, who I've known for 12 years. It took me 6 months for my friends to finally convince me to send him a message. So I am not one to do this, and this was way out of my comfort zone, and I definitely am more familiar with rejection. But
Yeah,
Susie
Sarah's
was
not
like,
aggressive in the dating world.
no. So this is not like, oh, well, no. This doesn't happen to me, which is why it's such a crazy story.
I
And then
really am a
did
believer in that. Like, you're a woman. You can
That's what I'm
have
saying.
whoever you want.
Yes, you taught me this. I didn't know this. And so here I am to pass the message along of you, too, out there listening, can do the same thing. All
Can
you
get
have
a
to
creepy
do
stalker.
Yes, you could get a creepy stalker if you give him the eyes and you go to a Brazilian samba show.
I'm going to post those pictures because he really was handsome.
Yeah. Do you have photos of that?
About 1,000. I think you took them all.
Out. Oh my God. That is so funny. Okay, listen. I had just broken up with somebody.
Here we go.
And I was not. That was the same trip that you convinced me to do online dating, and you wrote my profile for me. Not wrote at all, but helped me. That's good.
Yeah. I am a good lubricant to shenanigans, for sure.
Yeah. I love that.
Sarah, do you have any more things you want to get to before I introduce our guest for the day?
Ooh, a guest. Well, I will save it maybe about, we were talking about The Price is Right and some like other reboots that may be fun.
Oh,
but we can talk about that any old day.
Well, maybe give me a hint.
I will.
Do you think that I would be into?
Yes. Some that I want to see if you even remember.
Oh my God, tell me. I can't wait.
So this was like a list of like do's and don'ts. It was from The Guardian. And it was acceptable and unacceptable 90s TV shows that they should reboot.
Okay.
Or shouldn't reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them I totally disagree with. Do you remember the show? These are the don't. Or no, these are the do reboots.
Okay.
Do you remember the show California Dreams?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Me too. I hadn't thought about that show in a hot minute. And it is so... I love that.
It was like an edgier Saved by the Bell, but barely edgier.
It was like if you were like you want to be more edgy than Saved by the Bell, but Melrose Place was like too much.
Oh, hell yeah. Because the only thing that really made it edgy was they were in a band.
Right. And they maybe had they probably had like no real problems.
It was very
or
pure.
Like that. Yes.
Still, yeah.
Another one that I totally agree, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I love that show. Mm-hmm. So good. Really
very
good
funny.
theme song. This one I didn't even know about. Do you know the show Phenom? About a tennis player?
Yes, I loved it.
You did.
That was a good one. That's a sitcom.
I thought as soon as I clicked on it and I was listening to the intro, I was like, I bet Susie would like this. This feels like a Susie show.
And I have looked up the main girl in it several times since then to be like, where is she now kind of thing.
Oh, my God.
Because she had real curly hair like you.
Oh.
And that's just so memorable. And she was just so cute. And, I hope they do bring these all back. Any others?
Oh, yeah. This one, I want them to bring back so bad. And as soon as I listened to it, it took me right back. And now I want to rewatch all of them, which I feel like you probably weren't allowed to watch this show. But it was called Erie, Indiana.
Oh, Lord. I don't know that one.
Oh, it was so good. It was kind of like Twilight Zone for kids.
Oh, spooky.
Yeah. Super spooky. It started with, it's spooky. Yeah. And here, I wanted to play just a little bit of the intro music to take people back. Ready?
This is great. Oh, yeah.
To whom it may concern, if you're reading this document, it means I'm either dead or disappeared under mysterious circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
It took me right back. I remember listening to that and being like, oh, I remember
that sounds great.
show. So good.
Are they going to bring these back, or these are just suggestions?
This was just suggestions.
Damn, maybe.
I know, but I really think they should think about that because I think we're really into the Twilight thing. It's kind of like Black Mirror. And then the things that were under Don't Reboot, Clarissa explains it all.
Oh. I mean...
Yeah.
Wonder why, though.
Well, they were saying because now, they said if you were to remake it now, and they're just like, of course, being funny, it would be called Clarissa Screams Her Own Opinion About Everything as Loudly as Possible on the Internet, regardless of any discernible expertise.
Right. I mean, maybe she already explained everything.
Yeah, everything's explained. And some Home Improvement, that was like, definitely don't reboot that.
Guy.
Yeah. And then this show I never even heard of, and they were like, the name alone would never fly. Do you remember a show called Daddy's Girls?
No.
It was with Kerry Russell and Alan Ruck.
Oh.
And it was like, they said it could theoretically work as like a Saved by the Bell style reunion because of the cast, but it was a very bad sitcom about Dudley Moore trying to look after 3 young women all by himself, and it was called Daddy's Girls. And they were like, just trying to get a show called Daddy's Girls today. Go ahead, try to get that made. I dare you. Would never fly. So there's a list of things that should and shouldn't be rebooted, and that made me think that I really wanted to do a like call to action to tweet me or like message me or contact us and tell us your favorite shows from that era, because like we're all thirsty for nostalgia.
Yeah.
So
okay,
now
we'll do that
I
on
learned
our
about
Instagram.
Erie, Indiana, yes,
We'll let them
return
fill
it.
in.
Yes,
Okay.
I love it.
Well, I'm really excited about our guest. She is a PhD. Her name is Norma Mendoza Denton, and she works at UCLA. She's a professor there. And she's an anthropologist, but specifically she does work in linguistic anthropology. Ooh. And she wrote a tremendous book called Language in the Trump Era, Scandals and Emergencies. It was so good because it's a collection of essays of all different scholars from around the world who analyze the words that Trump has used over his career, but especially during his administration. And, you know, the way that it can persuade or manipulate or change your opinion of him. And it really helps provide, I told her it provided like academic scaffolding for something that we all see and hear, but maybe don't have the context to understand, is this a thing? And what are the consequences of these word choices? And especially like at his rallies, Norma talks about like the lock her up and the get them out and stuff like that. And just the ways that those are consequential phrases and behavior and, you know, what it teaches us about humans and especially politics. It's so good. It's called Language in the Trump Era, Scandals and Emergencies. And she is a delight. And I hope all of you take her advice at the end of the interview where she says, please vote. And I couldn't agree with her more. I can't wait to see all your I voted stickers, you guys. So tag us in those. But
Red and I are having a voting date tonight. We're voting together.
Oh, you're going to fill out your ballot?
Yes, and we're making it into like a little date night.
That is so good. I love a ritual, especially when it's meaningful and so important. I really hope everyone is going to vote. I know our listeners are passionate about these things, so be sure to tag us in that stuff. But check out this book and welcome Norma to the show. All right, here we go. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Norma. I love your book, Language in the Trump Era, Scandals and Emergencies. It's phenomenal. You must be so happy. Congratulations.
Thank you. We are so excited. I co-edited this book with Dr. Janet McIntosh at Brandeis University. And we were really sort of sprinting towards the finish line to be able to get it in when it's really, hopefully, going to make a difference in people's understanding of Trump's language.
That's what I felt when I was reading it, just this immense gratitude that you guys seem to provide this academic scaffolding for what we all can see and hear, but don't always know how to make sense of it. Right. So you guys did such a good job of that. And I hope tons of people read it and start to understand this kind of complicated scenario. Yeah, what was your intention when you...
So, both Janet and I are anthropologists, and many of the people in the book are linguistic anthropologists, linguists, and cultural anthropologists. But I think we were all propelled by the 2016 election, where really took a lot of people by surprise, including us. And I have had a longstanding interest in language and politics. And but my most of my previous work has been on gangs, which, if you think about it, is not so different from Republicans and Democrats, right? They behave in a lot of
good point.
Sort of, that kind of cohorting type of way that gangs behave sometimes. And Janet McIntosh has worked a lot in Kenya on whiteness there, and now she's been working on military speak. So working with a lot of people who are active military. And so both of us, when the 2016 election results came out, we were both motivated to try to do something in this area. We organized a panel and at the American Anthropological Association, and from there, a lot of people were interested in the topic, and we started collecting people to round out the different aspects of the book.
Isn't it funny how when you're a scholar, you can get really excited about these sort of niche topics, but in this case, certainly there seemed to be an immediate mass appeal, right?
Yeah. And I think that for me, it's very lucky in a way because I feel like it allows people to, first of all, it allows linguists and anthropologists to make ourselves relevant, to try to talk to issues in the moment that they're happening and not wait. Normally a book takes years to come out, years to be written. And so by that time, whatever you were thinking is possibly not the hottest topic. But I think that it's important for academics to try to react.
I'm so glad you did too, because it does feel urgent and so consequential.
Yeah.
Did you feel that when you were putting it together?
Well, it was a little bit hard because normally when you're studying something, you have done fieldwork. And so there's a beginning and an end. The fieldwork happened. Or if you're a historian, the historical event is over and now you can take stock. And so you have a sort of bounded universe of things to explain. Right. But this is the data source that keeps on going. It's like the Energizer Bunny of more and more and more and more data. It's the only book that I couldn't quite put down the manuscript when I finished it.
Right.
I finished, I turned it in, and the next day I was still writing on it because even though I knew nothing could go in there because it was done. The press has to go to press at some point.
Was that frustrating though?
Well, it's frustrating in a way because there's one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing needs to be said based on yesterday.
Yeah.
But the rewarding thing is that many of the dynamics that we identified, we can still identify. They're still productive and still going on. So maybe I can give you an example.
Yeah, hit me.
So in the book, I talk a little bit about, me and James Slaughter talk about this dynamic. I'm sorry, Jack Sidnell talk about this dynamic of get them out. What does it mean to eject protesters, right? So he talked about the meaning of ejecting protesters. And I got curious about the get them out, the chanting, right? And if you remember, the first chanting that started happening during Trump's previous campaign was "lock her up."
Sure,
right? Lock her up, lock her up. So people would start chanting these chants, "Lock her up," and then it became get them out when people were protesting. Later on, that sort of evolved into "send her back," right? Talking about Ilhan Omar,
right? Yes,
and other Republicans were sort of backpedaling on that one because it's one of their peers. And so now the chant has turned into "fill that seat." Right?
They love three syllables, don't they?
Yeah, so they really, and you can see that, there is a reason, right? It's simple, it's memorable, no one can mess it up really. But Democrats, Democrats need that kind of pithy saying ability, right? Our chants are much more complicated because they're rooted in labor movements and labor marches, right?
This is what always drives me bonkers about, because it feels like the parties play by different rules a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
tell me what you mean.
Well, I was really struck by when you spoke about a lot of why he's successful is because he's extremely entertaining. Even if you're repulsed by him, he certainly is compelling. And my co-host and I are both from reality television.
Yeah.
And I started back in 1998 and then went through into the 2000s and into 2010. And I watched the genre change. And it was produced in a different way, and it kept becoming more extreme. And I sensed the urgency from the producers that they needed to up the ante. And it felt to me like the audience's palate had changed, that they had been desensitized over time and needed more and more, like a fix, a bigger fix.
So interesting.
And so and he's a reality guy.
Yeah.
And so I see.
Well, definitely the ultimate stunt was the hospitalization.
Right? I mean, that was quite a
everyone
spectacle.
Was glued to the TV.
Right? And then he took the joyride, and I thought, this guy makes great television, even if you don't like it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I wonder do you think the audience is aware that their tastes have changed and that they are becoming more, like, they enjoy that lock her up, the spectacle of it, theatrics? What do you think?
I think that a lot of people are aware that part of, we all know that the part of the way that Trump got where he is through the theatrics.
Yeah.
Right? Through being a reality producer. And he's always, obviously going on about his ratings and, when such and so spoke, those were great ratings. So obviously he's considering audience reactions in that vein. But I don't know that people really sort of see it historically in the way that you have laid it out, which is so interesting. And also, I don't know that they see it historically in terms of Donald Trump's trajectory, which has been through not just entertainment television, but what's it called? WWF, like the Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
So in terms of the animation of these wrestlers, Adam Hodges has done a lot of really interesting work on how Trump basically embodies this type of circus master type of atmosphere.
And clearly it's very effective.
Yeah. So I think, of course, I want to wish him the best for his health. But I will also say that people will miss, if he should lose the election, people will miss the kind of hijinks that are coming out of the White House every single day, right? And there's no, the fact that he calls Joe Biden Sleepy Joe and boring and all this stuff, like that resonates for some people, right? They want a kind of, and the thing that Trump does so well is to make himself into bigger than life, right? Stronger than life, more powerful than, like, he's just mega triple XL.
Triple XL, right.
One of those big cups.
Yeah, man, I really can't wait to be bored personally, but I get it. Yeah. Okay, in your book, there's a section or a chapter on bullshitting.
Yes.
And I wanted to know if you could clarify, because the essay does a great job of saying, what's the difference between a bullshitter and a liar? And I so loved it because I never really thought about it before. But you do the book does such a great job of describing that. So I wondered if you could discuss that idea.
So the chapter that you're asking about is called 45 as a Bullshit Artist, Straining for Charisma. And here we have Professor Marco Giacomi, who has been working on a tradition and philosophy of trying to define bullshit, right? So this started with Professor Harry Frankfurt from Princeton. But a liar is somebody who knows that they're telling a lie, understands that they're lying to you, and that you may or may not be taken in by the lie, right?
Right.
But a bullshitter differs crucially in that a bullshitter is not necessarily committed to the veracity or lack of veracity of what they're telling you, right? He's just painting this picture that is for you to take in, but he's not, he doesn't care that it's a lie, right? It could be a lie. It might not be a lie, but in that sense, he can be, Trump can be extremely earnest in his tellings of non-truths because he's not committed to the fact that they are truth or not.
Right.
And so I think that would be the definition of bullshit that Frankfurt was working with.
Yes, and how when it's bullshit, the importance really isn't about the topic. It's more about the reflection on the sayer.
Yeah.
And that really clarified so much for me because Trump is a person who is very interested in his image, how people see him, that he is, in his mind, beloved. And so the bullshit is really a purpose of another kind than to just mislead you about that topic.
Yeah.
That was so interesting.
So in some ways it has like almost a higher purpose. And, when he went and did the drive, they're not calling it a drive-by, but what are they calling it? A drive-along or something?
At the hospital?
Because drive-by kind of means like drive-by shooting.
Right.
But people are wanting to call it like,
sure, a parade
the
or whatever
circular
it was.
drive, parade, self-parade that he had. I think that when he talked about people being out there and calling out his name, he was genuinely moved.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell that he really, really feels the way that people felt. And he was very, I don't know if humbled would be the right word for him, but he was very moved by the experience.
Yeah, he was as touched as I think he can be.
Yeah. And so there's a depth of feeling in his bullshit that is really remarkable, right? Because normally when we think that somebody's bullshitting us, we don't think that they care that much.
Right.
But I think that his is very deeply felt.
For him, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. Next topic I wanted to ask you about is the idea of plausible deniability and how effective he can be at using that, which can come into play with the bullshitting. Because if that's not really, the topic itself isn't important, then sometimes he will say, well, I didn't say it that way, or I didn't mean it, or he'll revise the quote, things like that. Do you think that his usage of plausible deniability is effective?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that he and his sort of PR machine, including Kelly McEnany and his doctors, and everybody has perfected the finessing of what people are actually going to get in terms of accounts of his behavior, of how well he's doing. So you could really see that with the doctors, especially his main doctor, who was careful to omit certain facts, even though he was repeatedly asked sort of point blank about it. And he kept repeating his roundabout answer just to be able to sort of present that plausible deniability, right? And I don't know if you follow on Twitter, oh my God, what's her name? I keep losing her name. The daughter of...
Claudia.
Yeah, Claudia
Conway.
Yeah, so Claudia Conway, yesterday night was on TikTok, sort of live TikToking, a conversation with her mom, where she accused her mom of giving her COVID. And you can hear in the background, mom going, "Stop it. I didn't say that." And so she sort of, made her kind of delete the previous TikTok and then go back in and put in, "This is what my mom says." And she's basically transcribing. My mom says she had 3 tests. The first one was negative.
Oh
the second 2 were positive. And so she didn't deceive me. Yeah. And so it's really there. You can really see like the fingerprints of
Right.
the parents, right? The fingerprints of the spin doctor trying
Right.
to finesse the message, because of course, as it turns out, Claudia Conway has gotten Kellyanne Conway into all kinds of trouble, and she's constantly on Fox News. She's, just a really interesting relationship. And for me, the moral of that is never mess with a teenage girl.
No way, man.
Right? Yeah,
Right.
She's the future of the revolution.
I believe the children are our future. I mean, it just, obviously people know that politics has always had spin and PR and lies and bullshit. It's not new. So what makes the Trump administration any different in your eyes?
I think part of what makes the Trump era be different in terms of language is that we're really have entered a phase where, plausible deniability is one part of it, right? But the stakes are so much higher and so much uglier, right? So now we have to worry about whether the incitement to, basically whether these incitements to action are going to result in violence. Will Trump saying, get him out, result in the person who's protesting getting beat up or roughed up or killed because Trump says, I'll take care of your legal expenses?
Do you think that these sorts of cultural shifts can be undone? Can you put the toothpaste back in the tube? Or no matter who wins in the future or what happens, this is just the new way?
I think this is the new way. And it's a little bit scary to think about it. I had been working on politicians back when I lived in Arizona. And while I was working on town hall meetings, I wasn't at this particular one, but it was when Gabby Giffords was shot. And I remember at that time, all kinds of public policy think tanks created institutes to try to understand civility, right? So the National Institute for Civil Discourse was created at University of Arizona. And I had a grant from them to study town hall meetings and disagreement in town hall meetings. And it's gone so far beyond that, that civility and discourse, like if somebody got up there and tried to say, let's try to take steps towards being civil, people would be like, oh, that ship has sailed, right? We are so far past being civil. Now we're just trying to not, decapitate each other or whatever.
Right. Because that's what I wonder whenever the Democratic Party takes a different approach. I wonder if that will be resonant or whether it will just be ignored. It's not very interesting to be civil, is it?
Well, it's not going to get you the, eyeballs on the TV.
Although I always use the British Bake Off as an example. It's civil, still entertaining. I hope we can get more of that going on. But,
Yeah, maybe.
That's sort of the exception.
Yeah. I mean, I think for politics, maybe you're right. I mean, part of the reason that Joe Biden seems old fogey is because his focus is on decency.
I know.
Right? And, when we think about the old Democratic saying, when they go low, we go high. Like, is there really room for going high when somebody's taking you out of the kneecaps? I don't know. It's hard to say.
It is hard to say.
I don't want to be pessimistic, but I also think that so right after the first Biden-Trump debate the other day, Joe Biden put out an ad, a campaign ad that was the sort of tagline of it was "had enough." I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't, but I have had
Donald
enough.
Trump at the debate, Joe Biden at the debate, and on top of Trump's face, there was a crying emoji.
Okay.
And they had put a soundtrack of a crying baby on top of it. So it was like, wah, wah, wah. And then, Biden trying to sort of take a turn and baby crying and crying and crying. And then it said, had enough.
Okay.
Almost like got milk, right?
Right.
And so I thought that was really interesting because that's the kind of, that is really like a Gen Z kind of move, right?
Yeah.
That must have been one of his staffers making this up because
right.
When you have Joe Biden trying to be civil and trying to be, presidential or whatever, and chiding Trump for not being presidential, but the way to reach the voters is going to be, with memes and with emojis and so on. I'm not sure.
Especially on social, because it's shareable then too,
Yeah. But if you look at that, the Biden campaign is appropriating the crybaby discourse from the Republicans, right?
That was such a great section of your book too.
Yeah.
Right. And you guys describe the significance of the insults and the consequences of using them. I don't know, man. I hope that that doesn't continue, but it certainly does work sometimes. So that's another reason why your book is so important. I know I'm keeping you too long, so let me ask you one more thing, and then
it's my pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm such a fan of your show.
Thank you, and you're so smart. You're lucky you don't live near me, or I would make you get coffee with me all the time because you are so brilliant.
I love that. Where are you located?
I'm in LA.
Oh,
are you in LA? Oh my gosh, don't tempt me. Oh my gosh. Because it's just so fascinating, the work that you do, and I hope that people constantly shower praise upon you. But there was a section in the book where you guys talk about the bad hombre usage and all of those sort of, that it's like appropriating other languages.
Yeah.
How would you describe that?
Okay, so this is something that was worked on by a colleague named Jane Hill, and she noticed that sometimes when you use a different language, you use it in a way that kind of puts down the language and its speakers, right?
Yeah.
So the sort of classic example of that is "Hasta la vista, baby," where Arnold Schwarzenegger went and shot up all these machines, or I guess maybe just the one machine that he hated. But when people use Spanish in this appropriated way, it has inherent in it a kind of lack of respect. First of all, you don't care about the grammar, actually. You don't care if it's right or not. It's just a kind of easy suffix that you can use, usually in pejorative terms. So you call something like El Cheapo or whatever, right? Or, like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm El Lado. And it's a put down in that way. And so by using bad hombres in this way, and what was so funny about it is that actual Spanish speakers like myself are just like, what? Bad hombres? Like the way that he pronounced it, we're like, you could be saying bad hungers. You could be saying bad hombres, right? Like the haircuts, the hairstyles. So it wasn't quite clear, but what was clear was that he was meaning to put them down, right?
That was
those Spanish speakers that are supposedly so bad. So he was simultaneously elevating his own masculinity and putting down those purportedly bad hombres, right? You got some bad hombres, we're going to take care of that.
Yeah. And his usage
and what's
of
so
local...
funny is he also wound up saying it to the Mexican president, which I'm not even really sure what he thinks he's doing with that, but at the Mexican president at that time. Yeah.
Okay. I always need like a glass of wine after I talk about him for too long. Okay. So I guess the final question is just sort of, why do you think it's important for people to see, as you rightly say, is sort of the magic behind the tricks? Why is language important? And why is your book a part of that?
Yeah. So I think for us, the main part of the book is to try to show how language manipulates reality, right? And for me, there's no better examples of that than the sort of linguistic fighting that we've had over COVID, right?
Yeah.
So the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, says COVID spreads through the air. And then the White House says, oh, you can't say that. Don't say that. Take it down. Mm-hmm. So they take it down. But when you have public health guidance that is being fought about, the language of which is being fought about, you can't say, until today, you couldn't say COVID spread through the air. You can't mention climate change in the White House website. Any references to climate change have to be taken out. You can't in Voice of America newscasts, right? This is America's image to the whole world. Those are being controlled through the White House. They don't want anything even remotely irregular about Trump. People are, and this is actually not a new thing, but the pattern has escalated of going into National Science Foundation and National Endowment of the Humanities and setting governmental priorities like that. So when you have the production of knowledge that is being fought about and tussled over with these political ends, I mean, I think for us that can be really dangerous. We won't know what is happening climate-wise because people are not allowed to tell us, right? People who speak Spanish won't know about certain developments in the law because they've taken down all the Spanish-speaking websites in the White House, whitehouse.gov. Wow. So I think that for us to be able to get the information that we need as a body politic to make decisions that affect us, everything from should I wear a mask in the elevator to, what's happening with the gas prices, or why are there all these dead fish turning up in my bayou? Like all of these things that we need to know as people in this country are being controlled. So our reality is being manufactured.
And the book also points out that the dishonesty increased, and it, to me, pointed to him being emboldened by it working, and then it increases. And also I noticed after the debate, as soon as the commentators came on, they were swearing, and the book points out how it's kind of contagious, that the language in the Trump era is not just Trump, it's us culturally and societally. So that's why your book is so great.
We used to be so shocked, right? When this all started and the grab him by the pussy thing came out. Like, I remember, trying to make sure that my child didn't hear it. And now there's all of these websites of, how to introduce your children to all of this terrible stuff that's happening.
Right. On my very first season of reality TV, I said the F word. They made an entire episode about my downward spiral. Now, I don't even think there'd be an episode without an F word, number one. Yeah. But, you're right. We used to demur at certain language that now is just every day and on television. And these things have consequences. Okay. We ask everybody one last thing, which is, what do you keep in the trunk of your car if you have a car?
In the trunk of my car, there is
anything
some
good in there?
Fake grass.
Why? Why, Doc?
It's not exactly, it's more like, because my daughter always wants to have, she wants to feel like we're outside or camping or something.
That's so nice.
And so when we're somewhere and she has to wait, I just put down the sort of back seats and we put out this fake grass and sit on it.
This is the best answer anyone has ever given. That's hilarious, but also really lovely.
Yeah.
Wow, that should catch on. Maybe we all need a patch of grass in our trunk.
Patch of grass, like it's your portable little patch of grass.
My gosh, I love it.
And we actually use it a lot. Like if we go to, if we go to the beach or we use it almost like as a beach blanket.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It makes sense, but nobody's ever said it before, so you win. But thank you so much. I hope everyone reads your book.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Amazing. And I just want to say that everybody should go out and vote. Everybody, please vote and know that your vote is so important. Everything that you do in this election is going to have a consequence.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're off the hook, my friend.
Did you know that everyone has an aura? Do you know what color your aura is? Maybe you have a fiery red personality or a quiet and calm blue or green. You could be an organized and methodical yellow or an explosive purple. Come join me, Mystic Michaela, on my podcast, Know Your Aura, to find out all about how your personality can be explained in colors.